Day 8, Romans 12, 1 and 2. Paul's letter to the Romans has been called his magnum opus. It is packed with theology about man, sin, and of course, the extraordinary grace of God. Paul pulls no punches as he opens by communicating the depth of our depravity and the consequences of our sin. But before we plummet into despair towards the end of chapter 7, Romans 8 comes bursting through with the hope of grace offered freely and mercy poured out more generously than we could imagine. So, when Paul reaches Romans 12, he doesn't introduce a new subject so much as draw a conclusion. Therefore, he writes, in view of all of this mercy, something becomes possible. Now, you can offer yourselves fully. Paul invites us to offer our bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. For many of us, the word sacrifice doesn't sound very exciting. Paul has invited us into freedom in Christ. So, isn't sacrifice a step backwards? No, it's not. In fact, the process of sacrifice is a deeper level of freedom, deeper relationship with God, and more effective witness. Paul tells us to present our bodies. Our bodies contain a lot of stuff. They are the place where our habits live, where our patterns take shape, where our affections are practiced day after day. Lent gives us space to notice how much of our embodied life actually runs on autopilot. You and I soothe ourselves in various ways that we rarely give attention and that are often unhealthy. What do you reach for when you're tired? How do you cope when you're overwhelmed? Where do you turn for comfort, distraction, or control? Paul warns against conformity to the world. Conformity happens quietly and often without our awareness. We absorb the values, anxieties, and rhythms of the world around us simply by moving through it. Transformation, on the other hand, is the work of God, slow, intentional, and deeply renewing. Notice that Paul does not say, transform yourselves. He speaks of being transformed. This is something God does in us as we make room. Room for new ways of seeing, new ways of desiring, new ways of trusting. Lent is not about forcing change, but about creating space where the Spirit can work. Renewal of the mind doesn't happen through information alone. It happens as we dwell with God, as we bring our whole selves, bodies, thoughts, patterns, and affections into His presence. Over time, we begin to discern what is truly good, what is life-giving, and what aligns with God's will. And this is where greater freedom and relationship are found. Each day of Lent invites us again to loosen our grip, to resist the pull of conformity to the world or the flesh, and to open ourselves to the quiet, faithful work of transformation. Here's a question for you to consider today. Where in your daily life might God be inviting you to make room for renewal rather than simply trying harder? A prayer prompt. Most of my personal prayers end this way. Help me to walk in the power of the Spirit and obey you every opportunity that I get. Maybe you would consider making this your prayer today.